Right, morning everybody, and welcome to the Governance and Audit Committee, 19th of February. The meeting is now being filmed and recorded. So, agenda item 1, apologies for absence.
Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Alan Lamb, Leeds Council, Councillor James Scullion, Calderdale Council, and Councillor Denise Jeffrey, Wakefield Council. Councillor Rebecca Paulson is attending as Councillor Lamb's substitute, Councillor Scott Patient is attending as Councillor Scullion's substitute, and Councillor Matthew Morley is attending as Councillor Jeffrey's substitute.
Thank you. Okay. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Has anyone got anything they wish to declare? No? Thank you, that can be noted. Agenda item 3 is exempt information. We haven't got anything on the agenda today that's exempt. And that brings us on to agenda item 4, which is minutes of the meeting of the Governance and Audit Committee, which was held on the 20th of January. Has anybody got any comments or questions arising from those? No? Thank you. If we can note those have been accepted then, please. Agenda item 5 is a substantive item today, and that's to look at the final statement of accounts. This item has been brought back to the committee today because we were due to look at them and approve them at the last committee meeting, but just before then they were presented. Some accounting errors were found and they required further investigations. So that work's now been done and have been brought back to the committee today, asking the committee to receive the external auditor's opinion but also to approve the statement of accounts. So we've got those two matters to look at. By way of background, I think everybody on the committee should have received various supporting documents. So you should have received a report from Mazars, the 23-4 audit opinion and letter of representation, and we should have also all had a note from Damon which included the final version of the 23-24 accounts and progress on prior accounting issues. So can I check that everybody's had all of the documents? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so Damon, do you want to introduce the item and take us through?
Thanks, Chair. So at the last meeting, it was agreed that I would brief the Chair of Scrutiny and yourself, Chair, which we did. At the same time, we were concluding what we believe the adjustments that are needed, and they're contained in Appendix 3. However, we do reserve the right to make any further prior year adjustments, which is standard practice in organisations when you come across anything that's needed to be adjusted, you know, as part of the close down for the following year for 24-25. So there may be some prior year adjustments. At this point in time, some work needs to sort of continue to conclude what they potentially are. We are up against the deadline of the 28th of February. So we wanted to make sure that this committee went ahead. So I just wanted to make sure that people are aware that there might be some prior year adjustments and they'll be reported in due course. And with that, I felt it necessary to adjust my statement, having been not responsible for the statements of accounts produced back in May last year, and having joined the organisation in December. I just wanted to make sure that that was referenced in the statement of accounts, so that there is a clear audit trail and we can actually document the improvements and the changes that I've made. And with that, I've brought Helen Mallam along, who has recently joined the organisation and strengthened the team. So if we have any questions that are raised on the changes to the statement of accounts in Appendix 3, we've got the technical expertise to make sure that those explanations are in place. As we thought, the main issue was the material issue on the intergroup transfers in the group accounts, and then there's some presentational issues. However, I do believe that you know, the usable reserves was an omission that we should have included, and I think if we, you know, the post-mortem continues as we have set up a Mazars and an internal closed down workshop in March to make sure that one is we're on the front foot with regard to a timetabling, to make sure that we've got adequate quality assurance, internal quality assurance built into the process, and two is we learn lessons further by interrogating the previous year statement of accounts, and there might be other things that we want to improve on from a presentation point of view and an explanation point of view. So I think building more time in, building the resources in, the post-mortem will continue. However, we're just about to embark on what the close down process is for 24-25. So then we then start to close down the accounts for this year, and that's where we then, obviously, opening balances, we'll be reviewing to make sure that if there is any prior adjustments, it's needed at that point in time. But, Chair, the report outlines the changes that have made, and I'll take any questions, and the team will take any questions. I don't think, if Alistair, you want to add anything, I know that you've got your opinion report as well. So
I'm happy to add now or after you take on.
Should we take questions on that first and then come back to your opinion report after? Yeah.
Thanks, Chair. Just one minor thing. I think there's a date that's been missed on page 16 of the pack. There's a 22-23 that's still in there that probably ought to be 23-24. Service concession arrangements at the top. But the main question was, obviously there's a combination of external audit, building back assurance, and obviously the specifics of the CA, re-establishing capacity and expertise. And I know you referenced the workshop. Just wonder whether there could be something back to the committee that would sort of give us that action plan, the results of that self-assessment and judgment from both perspectives, from Forbes, Mazars and the CA, that obviously we can then track and help build our assurance ready for the whole shenanigans again in another few months.
yeah, the next meeting is scheduled for the 28th of April, and we can send a note out prior to that, and then we can have a discussion on the day of the committee. I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Poulsen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Maybe I can just ask for some, maybe this has been discussed previously, but there's a number of alternate members on the committee today, some clarification on process here, because I've come to this with open eyes, new eyes to it, and I was quite frankly pretty appalled to see what's been going on. As somebody who sat on the board of WICA, we've had no knowledge of any of this has come to the board. This is public money, and quite frankly, it's really shocking how badly internal audit and getting the accounts to the external auditors seems to have gone on for a number of years. This doesn't seem to be a one-off this year. To not actually get the audit completed now because of the backstop legislation is dreadful. I'm not criticising Mazars for that, because if I understand from the report, the accounts were sent very, very late yet again. So I think there's a lot to look at of this going forward. But on the process, we've got this backstop, which they have to be signed off by this committee, I believe, by the end of the month. And what happens if we're not happy to sign off these accounts today because we don't have a full external audit in place? Will the government sign them off and take the responsibility for poor accounting here? Because this is public money. We have a responsibility to residents here who it's their money that we're spending and auditing. So if we refuse to sign them off, what is the process over the backstop? Will it go back to government, to M8, CLG or the Treasury to actually take responsibility? Is the external audit still continuing? It's not very clear in the report. Have we just written it off that we're not having it completed, or will it be an ongoing audit that will be delivered late? And obviously there's an impact then on the cost of the audit. Where are we up to on the costings of the external audit? So that's sort of the process stuff. The specifics in the report I'm sure we'll come to as we go along, so maybe you can help me with those.
Yep. Oh, right. So
Can I just
do you
deal
want to
with-
come in first and then...
Can I just deal with 1 point before? Sorry, thanks. Can I just deal with 1 point before Damien comes in? Councillor Paulson, I just wanted to clarify one particular thing in what you've said, which is that the CA's internal audit function has no role in auditing the accounts. Okay, and I know this has been previously said at prior committees where there's been an assertion that internal audit have missed this. They haven't. That's a really important point to make for the reputation of the function. Okay, so there's the accounts are signed off within finance, and then there's the external audit process. There is no role for internal audit in auditing the accounts. I just want to clarify that. The bit on the other thing I just wanted to say is, and Damon will come in on this, that there has been no loss of public money. All right, I'm not. There's an element to which we have to hold our hands up and say that mistakes were made here and they're now being addressed. But there has been no loss of public money to the people of West Yorkshire. There's a mistake. There's a mistake and a big mistake in the accounts. We're not going to hide that. But we don't have less money than we thought we did. We haven't misspent money. It is an accounting mistake, which Damon is now seeking to address. There's been no loss of public money to the people of West Yorkshire. We haven't got less money than we thought we did. I just wanted to make those 2 points before Damon comes in.
That's fine. Yeah. Damon, do you want to come in on that?
Yes, thank you. So when I make reference to internal quality assurance, that's where you have your chief accountant, your technical accountant produces a draft statement of accounts. That's where the head of service then would check those accounts, ask those questions, do all the due diligence. That's where the finance director would then challenge that head of service. That's internal quality assurance, and that's what we're making sure that we program in, that there's adequate time, because it does take time and it is a to and fro. And I feel that last year that wasn't probably adequately done. So that's why we're doing and making sure that that's in place. I think the secondary point, and Alan, you've well made it, is the fact that the issue was a material issue on the consolidation of group accounts. The police accounts are correct. The Wyker Combined Authority accounts are correct. It was in a consolidation piece of work. So there is no loss of public money. So quite confident that both position statements are fine. It was in the group consolidation. And in terms of the meeting deadlines, I don't know if Gary you want to respond to that, because I wasn't here at the time, but I think we did miss the deadline by a number of days in publication. And I think in hindsight, and it depends on who was going to be around at that time, you do everything that you could to meet those deadlines, and that's what we will be doing this year, because it's up to the leadership in the organisation to make sure that the resources are in place, that you meet the deadline. So unfortunate that the deadline was missed last year. In terms of the backstop and the audit world, then that is clearly something Alistair explained at the last meeting, but you may want to elaborate on some of that now. It is unfortunate that we are in the public sector, in all organisations, facing a number of years where assurance levels from our external auditors are not in place. It's not unique to this combined authority. However, I think, Alistair, it's probably your domain that you would want to respond. So, okay, Chair.
Alistair, do you want to come in on that? And then we've got a question from Councillor Morley.
Yeah, I will. I'll pick up a number of points relating to those questions. So in terms of the external audit is not continuing. My reports have been clear to the combined authority that there's been insufficient time to complete the external audit of the combined authority's accounts, and as a result, in line with the government's backstop arrangements, I'll be issuing a disclaimer opinion on the combined authority's accounts, and a disclaimer opinion provides no assurance on those accounts. My audit opinion makes that clear, and my completion report likewise makes that clear. So there is no continuing audit work on the 23-24 financial statements. The backstop arrangements that the government have put in place require the combined authority to publish its audited financial statements by the 28th of February. That puts a deadline on me to issue the audit opinion, the disclaimer opinion on those financial statements in sufficient time to enable the combined authority to publish those audited accounts on its website by the 28th of February. Those are the key dates and the key requirements. Your responsibility as the Governance and Audit Committee, as those charged with governance for the combined authorities' financial statements, is to receive, consider and approve those financial statements, which enables Damon, as your Section 151 officer, no, Section 73 officer, apologies, your Section 73 officer, as the responsible financial officer, is able then to sign his statement of responsibilities, and at that point you have a set of accounts. If that doesn't happen, if you don't approve those accounts, Damon is not able to sign his statement of responsibilities because you have not adopted your accounts as the combined authorities' accounts. If you don't do that, I can't issue an opinion on them because they do not exist as your document. So the consequence of that, if that was to be the actions and where we end up, I can't issue my opinion by the 28th of February. You can't publish audited accounts by the 28th of February. So the combined authority would then be in breach of the regulations that set up through the backstop arrangements to publish those audited accounts. I can't comment on what the consequence of that would be because that's very much in CLG's remit as the department responsible for this. But that is the inevitable conclusion from you not approving the set of accounts that are before you. I would make it clear as well, your Section 73 officer, as your responsible financial officer, is stating to you, with one caveat that he's added to his statement of responsibilities, that he believes these accounts are a true and fair record. You as governance committee should take Damon's views on board in your consideration of those accounts that your financial officer is signing a statement to say they are a true and fair record. One other point I'll pick up that you asked about was the cost of the external audit, which is a good question. The external audit is, I am appointed by public sector audit appointments, who are the body who are charged with appointing auditors to all local authorities. They determine the audit fees for each year. I don't. It's not a matter of my consideration. It's their audit fees. They have published, I think it was last week, they made a public statement around resolving the issue of what is the cost of delivering disclaimed audits, which are not the normal cycle of audits. So there is a fee that's been published to deliver an audit of your accounts. I'm not delivering an audit of your accounts for the aforementioned reasons. So the PSAA are considering still what the impact of that is on those stated fees. So it is a to be determined, and it's very much in PSAA's remit to conclude those discussions and then engage with all authorities as to what the impact of that is. Does that help answer all those various points?
Thank you.
Answer that, Chair, in terms of it. So at the last Audit and Governance Committee, the agenda and the papers had been published. And on the Friday before, I think it was the Monday of the committee, these adjustments came to light. So in terms of, at the time of the previous combined authority, the statement of accounts was to be published, go through the normal process of governance, i.e. the last committee. So there was no issue. It was only on the Monday that we disclosed, that we discussed what the potential issue is, which we've discussing today, and we had the debate and discussion about briefings and having another committee of this position. At that same time, on that Friday, I had extensive conversations with Alistair from Mazars. I also spoke to the police and committee and ensured that they were aware that we weren't in questioning the police accounts. We were just basically detected that there was a group consolidation issue. So we made sure that everyone that needed to be briefed was briefed at that time, including the mayor, the deputy mayor, I can't, it seems a few weeks ago now, any other combined authority members at the time. And so I think everyone that needed to be in the position, apart from the wider extended combined authority. Sorry, Alan.
So also, Damon, at the last meeting of the combined authority, which, as Damon says, happened right in the middle of this this process taking place, a question was asked about this in the combined authority meeting as part of the paper on the budget approval, and it was asked by Councillor Lamb, and Councillor Lamb was good enough to let us know that he was going to ask the question. So we were able then to report verbally to the combined authority about this incident. So the combined authority has been informed about this, and there is a written record of them having been informed, which will be published in the minutes of that meeting, and those minutes are published later today as part of the pack for next week. So I am confident that the combined authority has been informed appropriately of this matter, noting the different roles that Governance and Audit Committee and the Combined Authority Board have.
Has anybody got any other questions on this paper? Could you take us through that then, please?
I will, yes, and so there's a bit of a collection of external audit papers, aren't there? So just to be clear, in the published papers, you have just referring to it, you have the letter of representation, which Rob has already thankfully pointed out the typo. That I'll take that on the chin. That's me missing something. You've also got our audit completion report at Appendix 2. That was presented to the last meeting, so I wasn't proposing to talk through that report in detail. But that's sent out separately. You have my audit opinion, my proposed audit opinion, and also the auditor's annual report, which Damon circulated to members yesterday. Was it yesterday? This week's already a long week. I think it was yesterday. And that document that was circulated summarises the output from the external audit work we have done. And reiterating the response that I've just given to the previous question, no work has been carried out on the financial statements, so a disclaimer opinion is being issued. However, as a result of the work that the combined authority has done since the last meeting and making the corrections that are in Appendix 3 to the report, there are still further material internal discrepancies in the accounts that will take longer to resolve, which Damon has referred to as being those matters that will lead to next year adjustments to those figures. The resolution of those matters is more complicated than the simple adjustments that were able to be made. So, as Damon said, that work is ongoing at the Combined Authority to identify how the discrepancies have arrived and what the corrections need to be. My audit opinion does refer to those material inconsistencies as well as providing a disclaimer, and that's a technical requirement of my audit reporting and the auditing standards that underpin my audit reporting, that I need to refer to things that otherwise would have been matters that I would have qualified the accounts on. So that was all I proposed to say on the accounts. The auditor's annual report that you received yesterday also summarises the work that we've carried out on the authority's arrangements to deliver value for money, which is the second of my responsibilities as your external auditor, and that work has been completed as planned, as intended. The backstop arrangements make no allowance for the value for money work to be deferred or delayed in any way, quite rightly, and we've completed that work and included our commentary on those arrangements in that auditor's annual report. It is a very similar position to the previous year that we reported. So in the previous year, we reported, looking back, in a timely and appropriate way, a significant weakness on the arrangements to produce the financial statements by the statutory deadline. And I think the conversations that we've had over the last two meetings have highlighted the need for the authority to address that weakness and that recommendation, because that underpins, having high quality, timely financial statements underpins the work that I do as the external auditor, and means that I can complete that external audit on a timely basis. We've also highlighted the work and the progress made on the two, what we call other recommendations in last year's report, which are both around the focusing financial plans on the medium term and the budget reporting that goes alongside the medium term financial plans. So I think that's all I intended to say, Chair. I'm happy to take questions on any of the reports, the collection of external audit documents that are in there.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Rob?
Thanks, Chair. It's sort of a question prompted by Alistair's report, but I guess it's back to Damon. On page 12 of the report that came out yesterday, in reference to the CA not having developed an MTFS yet, although it's probably getting developed as we speak, and that table above, from a governance point of view, and I'm not interested in sort of the detail because you won't have it, about when any sort of budget there's a surplus on it, then something hasn't been achieved that was perhaps planned by them. Either it's efficiencies and that have led to an underspend or additional income or whatever. And equally with the capital programme, albeit the capital programme that's 88% delivered is probably pretty good. There are obviously things that were planned to be done that weren't. So from a governance point of view, other committees are naturally going to see the detail of those, but from a governance assurance perspective about the financial management arrangements, it's perhaps picking up in the workshop session that I know we've got planned, is to just understand the mechanics of budget monitoring, capital programme management, so that we can be assured that there's robust financial governance, even though inevitably there will be underspends, overspends, slippage, etc. occurring. But I suppose it's hard from this committee's perspective to see the mechanics of financial governance and financial management with what we see through the accounts. I wouldn't want to cut across any other committees. It might be a matter of recycling what goes to other committees that would shed a light on those financial management, financial governance arrangements.
Thank you. I think that's a very good idea. Did you want to come back on that, Damon?
Thank you. In terms of the prior year's MTFP recommendation, this was a position statement. We moved, I think, quite a way forward with the budget that we set early on a few weeks ago, in terms of looking at a multi-year budget plan. So that's probably not reflected at this moment in time, and it'll be reflected in probably 24-25's VFM work. So there is a timing of these recommendations at a certain point in time, and the work that we've done to set the 25, 26, 26, 27, 27, 28 budget, the MTFP, that was in January, and that'll be reflected in 24, 25. So just bear with me on that one. The budget monitoring and the capital monitoring, the Q3 report that's going to FRCC this afternoon starts to include further information and further detail. However, it's not where I want it to be. Q4 is where it will start to be a lot more detailed, a lot more analysis. As we strengthened our business partnering, so we've got better at our forecasting, and we've got a lot more intelligence, I suppose, over the capital programme, with strengthening of a capital programme director in transport and various other appointments that have come in. So we feel that now actually we've got the resources to get the deliverable and the output that we want. So I certainly think Q4's monitoring report will be a better reflection of the type of detail you would expect. And certainly from Q1 next year, we will virtually have a report that's been zero based. And with that zero basing, we've looked at how the budget is constructed, how the chart of accounts is set up in the system, because we've just resurrected the CIA project, which is a systems project, to really look at all the improvements that are needed. That system itself has been in development really and hadn't concluded, and it's not where we want it to be, because we will need to look at the reporting and the output, and we need to make sure that by the 31st of March, when we set the new budget for 1st of April in the system, that it's got everything it needs to be. So that zero basing has actually started, but it'll only manifest itself in actually a budget construct in Q1 next year. But can I just conclude? So if you need any more detail on that, I would suggest that I could wrap that up in the briefing on the 28th of April at the next meeting, because I can actually show you the improvements, and maybe the pack might reflect the direction of travel.
What I was going to suggest, I don't want to create any more work, because it's just, showing us what exists. And I know there's obviously a difference between the management accounting that you've just described and the financial accounting, but actually for us to get assurance around that general capacity for the team to be able to manage both would be useful, and if that can be picked up at that next meeting, that'd be great.
Can you make a note of that, and we'll make sure that happens. Thank you, it's a good idea. Is any, yeah?
Chair, I just wondered if I could just jump in and in response to Rob's, appreciating his question wasn't at me, but the earlier question on Damon's item as well, around the follow-up and the assurance that the committee would seek and look for. From my perspective, I'm very happy. I bring an update report to meetings where I don't have a formal plan or completion report. I'm very happy to bring my observations and my thoughts to the committee as well, as the external auditor, on the progress that I see and the development that the authority is working on to address those weaknesses. And I think a committee charged with governance that is high performing would expect that, not only of its external auditor but of its officers, to be, your role is to be assured that those matters are being addressed, that you have those strong governance elements, and I would expect that, not just in April, but I'd expect that to be something you would be assured on a going forward basis as well, Chair.
I think, again, that would be really useful if you could do that, because I was slightly concerned reading the report that some actions from last year haven't been taken forward. So I think to get regular reports on that would be really helpful. I think, Rob, did you want to come back in again?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Obviously appreciate Alistair's contribution to an independent view of the CA's capacity in growing that expertise, but not letting Forbes Mazars off the hook. I think the committee want assurance around your capacity and ability to meet the deadlines, because obviously not every external audit firm has been in the position to do that. So there's two sides of this assurance picture I think we need, in-house and from Forbes Mazars.
Thank you. Any further questions? Yes, Councillor Paulson.
Yeah, probably along similar lines. And going through the report we got late yesterday on the overall commentary on governance, it says obviously in 22-23 Mazars raised significant weakness in the authority's financial reporting arrangements back then. And then you go on to say you confirm you consider this weakness is in place for the year ended end of March 24. So I really would like to know what's been going on in the interim, really, why this has been still an ongoing issue. And what are we doing? Can we have some assurance here that the accounts for this next year will be signed off and ready to go by, I think, is it the end of May is the deadline?
End of June.
End of June for next year, thank you. That they will hit the deadlines and they will be accurate and get to the external auditor, because this seems to be a recurrent theme. It's coming up in the value for money report yesterday. It doesn't seem to be being addressed in the report, and I'm hoping it is being addressed and you give you some assurance here, because it is a big concern if this has been allowed to run and run year after year.
Damon, would you like to come back?
I think, again, it's about the report is on the 23-24 position, and the recommendations from 22-23 and 23-24, if they haven't been implemented, I can't really comment on why. All I know is that as at now, and certainly for 24-25, we're putting in the right resources, we're building in time, we're building in expertise and, if you like, learning. Not only the Mazars workshop, but we've got some other intelligence elsewhere that we're drawing on. So I can give you assurance that certainly as the interim finance director, and I'm responsible for this close down for 24-25, that we will meet the deadlines. I can't talk about if there's going to be prior year adjustments that I'm not aware of. So you don't know what you don't know, but as we look at the opening balances for 24-25, it gives us the opportunity to reflect on the evidence to support those opening balances. So there might be something in there. But for 24-25 close down, we have the timetable, we've got the commitment from the team, and I think from the leadership, that includes myself and colleagues, to make sure that we do everything that's possible to produce a statement of accounts that I can sign off in a statutory capacity, that the external auditors can give an opinion on, that we want and we need, that they are a true and fair view and there's no material discrepancies. We're constantly learning lessons from the past, but some of the references in this VFM report are for 22, 23, 23, 24. So when you see the 24-25 VFM report, which will be around, and looking at Alistair, will that be about September, October? I don't know exactly when the...
To be determined. Let's get 23 out the way.
When we get the VFM report for 24-25, I'm hoping that there won't be any legacy recommendations that remain outstanding, because everything we're doing is to make sure that they're being satisfied. And I welcome Mazars' commentary at the next audit committee that there's a recognition of the progress we've been made. And we have regular meetings, and if it's not going where we want it to, it's my role to intervene. So we'll make sure that's in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. If I could just build on what Damon said, and noting that there's already been a commitment that at the April meeting there'll be an update to the committee around the work that's being done to improve the capacity and capability within the finance function. Following these recommendations, or over the last couple of years, there was then a piece of work done about what capabilities was required in finance, which resulted in a wholesale restructure of the finance team. So for instance, and I should say that that has resulted in a changing of some roles. It has resulted in some new recruitment and new skills being brought into the organisation, but it's not complete yet. So there are still some vacancies which we are looking to recruit. We had a particular challenge around a key appointment, which was for a group financial accountant, which remained vacant for a number of months, which we struggled to recruit to, which has now been filled, and which is Helen. And also the role that Gary previously played as head of finance across the entirety of the organisation's finances has essentially been split into three. So because of the scale of the operation that's now required, the CA is now not far off £1 billion a year organisation, and the financial capability and capacity needs to reflect that. So Gary's role has been split. Gary is now the head of corporate and strategic finance. That we then have someone at Gary's role who leads on everything to do with economy and place, including policing, and someone at Gary's level who leads on everything to do with transport, which reflects the scale of the operation that's required. And that is all work that has been taking place over the last 6 to 9 months. So it's not complete, but it gives you, and we'll do a comprehensive note on this for the committee, but it's to highlight some of the key things that have been done in response to some of the challenges that we've been facing over the last couple of years.
Thank you. Any further questions? No?
Chair, not a question, but at the risk of unnecessarily elongating the discussion, I just wanted to pick up on the comment made around 24-25, and I've just to give the committee an update or a lack of an update on what the rebuilding assurance looks like for 24-25. As I've reported to committee previously, regularly, I think, through the last year, the plans for rebuilding assurance where there are disclaimer opinions as here is something that we are looking as an audit supplier, and all audit suppliers are looking for central guidance and central determination from the stakeholders nationally to inform us what direction rebuilding needs to take. So there are some very specific and detailed matters that need to be consistent across all local authorities and audits of local authorities. You can't have one audit supplier applying one approach to rebuilding assurance and another audit supplier taking a wholly different view, because that would not build assurance in the sector. Those national discussions are still going ahead. I've reported previously, I think, my frustration in the lack of progress on that, because as I come to sign 23-24 in the next week, I still don't know what rebuilding assurance looks like for the combined authority for 24-25, and I don't actually know when I will know that. So I will be starting to plan my 24-5 audit in a bit of a vacuum in that case. I will obviously, as soon as the position becomes clearer, as soon as there is clarity from the national stakeholders as to what that looks like, I'll report back to this meeting with a clear view on A, what that national framework looks like, B, what the impact is on the combined authority, and an accurate view, on the timetable that it will take for me to get to a position of giving an unqualified opinion on the combined authority's accounts. Acknowledging without any of that knowledge, I don't know if that's next year or if it's the year after or if it's 2 or 3 years hence. Until I have that framework, I don't know what that will be. So commitment that I'll bring back to this meeting, and probably not for the minutes, my frustration in the fact that I'm not able to say something further to you.
Thank you, Esther. Okay, any further comments, Alan?
It's just a final point, reflecting further on what Councillor Paulson said earlier about notification to the combined authority. And I did say it was reported last time, but the combined authority meets next week, and my suggestion is that the Mayor and Damon provide an update to the combined authority in public next week about the outcome of this meeting, whatever that is about to be. Right.
Thank you. Which brings us nicely to the key question. So the committee has been asked to approve the statement of accounts for 23-24. So is the committee prepared to approve the accounts based on the assurances we've been given today?
I am, but I just wonder whether in the same context of not sort of, qualifying it, acknowledging from the committee's point of view, we've not had the benefit of the full audit and therefore we're placing significant assurance, which is perfectly reasonable, on the Section 73 officer's statement.
I think that's a fair point and a fair request, and I would second that. Yeah. Okay, so on that basis, are we prepared to accept, sign off the accounts?
Yes.
Yeah, can we?
Can I just know, I'm
Yep.
not happy to sign them off.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
that's fine, thank you. Guidance, Caroline, does it carry?
Sorry, Chair, yes it does. Just question for Councillor Poulson whether you want that recorded in the minutes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. It is carried.
It is. Thank you. Okay, so if we can note that has been carried and note that Councillor Poulson didn't support the decision. Thank you, everybody. I think that brings us to the end of the meeting. Thank you very much.